Okay, what I went ahead and did to save on time, I went ahead and highlighted some of the states, that were going to fall within the Midwest and the East, Northeast, something that would interfere with our comparison of South and West states. And so now that I have those highlighted, we're going to open a graph. And now we must make sure that they don't show up in our data set. So now all these states that are being shown are the ones that should be considered West and South. Okay, now I'm going to start where probably everyone else starts. I'm going to drop the average salary on the x-axis because we are concerned about money. Now this so far doesn't tell us a whole lot. All this is just doing is taking all the states and just putting them there and letting us know where it falls on the number line. Can't really compare that way. So we're going to take the region and drop it on the y-axis. So now I can start comparing my West versus South. So at first glance, I'm going to lean towards the West so far. Everything's spread out a little bit more. This would have a better chance to having some grouped in the middle to make it a normal skewed curve. This one, it starts south. We don't have a chance. It's definitely a negative skew. Okay, I went ahead and highlighted the states that I don't think should fall within our data set. You can see down here on the map the ones that I eliminated so that we can focus on West and South. So now I'm going to open a graph. I'm going to remove those so now they won't have any influence over our data set. Now I'm going to start where probably everyone else starts because we're all going to be concerned about money. Now this right here is not telling me much. It's just taking the states that are still on the data set and putting them on a salary line. So I'm going to drop region. Now we can start comparing the South versus the West. Now, at first glance, to me, the West looks better. I know this is very primitive as far as a comparison goes, but if there was just a little bit more right here, you can see that it almost wants to be a normal skew right there, versus the South. We've got this positive skew. Everything is concentrated down here to the lower end. So that's not necessarily a flag, just an observation. To get a better look at what those are, now we can take a look at the numbers a little bit better. So we can see that there is a lot more of a spread on the West that still fall within the two middle quartiles. These outliers right here, I don't really even consider those. Those are, for me, the ones that I would never be able to get, or at least if I just moved out west. But all these options within, this box plot is very good. You can see on the South, everything's very concentrated right there. So our median is floating around about the 48,430 mark. Okay, so this is telling me that there's just as many schools or states on that side as there are this side, but everything's grouped right around here. If you take a look at the median at just over 50,000, you can see that there's only 3 states that has a mean of over $50,000 for the teacher on average. So everything is below. So I don't like to think of, my chances being below. When we look at the West, we can see that our median is just under the 53,000 mark to where we have our data set separated. And there's still a lot of schools over here, but our mean at 53,646, there's room there to find those schools. I like that. I would want to be located in a school above the average if I had the opportunity. So right now I'm leaning towards the West. Now, West, as we can see down here, West is a big place and the South is a big place. So I'm going to drop the division out here so I can get a better look at what the South and the West, what they have. So I'm going to focus on the West because so far for me, this seems like the better option. Now, even though I like mountains better than I do ocean, you can see that the only line, or the only one that, there's only one that is actually on the median. The rest of the Pacific is above. So the Pacific, they're the higher paying states for these schools. Now there's a couple of the mountain states that made it over here, which is nice. Not a lot of options, but I mean, I guess when you're talking about an entire state, you have options. So we look up here to the south just to give it a comparison, and it's pretty evenly spread, I suppose. You know, as far as the separation, we got 2 of the West South Central on this side of the median. We got 2 on this side. On the South Atlantic, we got 3, and we got 3 on this side of the median. And so this is spread out pretty. It's odd because it's concentrated what it is. It still has the information spread out. Versus on the West, every one of the Pacific are either on the median or above. So now, of course, we can't let money be our sole drive for choosing a job. You can make all kinds of money and be miserable. So let's take a look at students per teacher. This is going to be an important factor. In the West, which so far is leading, you know, my favor, we started about 12.4 and end at 22.5. That's a pretty big gap. Pretty big gap. Now, as we can see, dealing with the Pacific states, we're looking at 16.2 to 21.5. And the mountain states, they're just random. So we're going to have bigger classrooms here, which it can be good or it can be bad. You know, some people like the smaller classrooms. It's more intimate. You can work one-on-one with students. If someone's struggling, they can get that help, and you can keep a better eye on them, what they're needing help with. Because the students don't always know what they need to ask. Now, when we get up to the South, we can see everything is clumped together, and 12.3 to 16.2. So it's very consistent that they're going to be smaller classes than in the West. So that's going to be very attractive to some people. Now, another thing that I was curious about is the money spent on the students, making sure they've got proper equipment. And so let's see. Here we go. So we're keeping it with the students per teacher, but this grid we can see that the brighter the red, the better financed the students are. You know, having good computer labs, tablets, all the technology they can do to be successful. Now down here in the West, there's 1, 2, 3 or 4 that are in the lighter colors. The rest are pretty dark. Versus in the South, the majority of those appear to be in that low to medium area. So between these 3 things, looking at it between salary, students per teacher, and the expenditures for the students, I'm going to have to put my vote in for West. It seems like living West, that the teachers are taken care of, the students are taken care of. It may have more kids in the class, but I mean, that's just more people for us to help. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people just don't prefer it. But that's my vote, and that's what I'm going to stick with.